Hello everyone, welcome to Wing Papercrafting and welcome to Template Tuesday. My name is Angel Fitch, and if you're new around here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. Before we get started with our templates, I'd like to ask a favor of all of you to go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and ring that bell so you get notified every time I upload a video, because you don't want to miss all the fun we're having around here. So today we're going to do our next two templates. So we've got template number 13. This is our basic template. So it's just got pattern paper, a little bit of cardstock on the front, just a simple design. And template number 14 is our fun fold for the week. And so this is a pretty easy fun fold as well. So not a lot to either one of these. This is going to be quick. But let's go ahead and get started with our first one. So I'm going to look at the recipe I have written here on the inside. So we need a card base that's 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And you always want to give it a good burnish there so it lays flat. I have a piece of cardstock for the inside that's 4 by 5 1/4. Then we've got pattern paper for the outside. So our first piece of pattern paper is this big one. So this is 4 by 5 1/4, and it's going to go on the very front. And then we've got these, which are pattern paper. And so these are 1 by 3 1/4, and you need 3 of those. And then the cardstock that goes on the outside are these backings here for these 3 pattern paper strips. So these are 1 1/4 by 3 1/2, and so we're going to put each of our pattern papers on one of these. And then just whatever you want for your focal piece on the front. I just used this little circle that I cut from the Spotlight on Nature dies. But you could use any die for the front, any cardstock to do your stamping on. So let's go ahead and put this together. This won't take long at all. So let's go ahead and get our inside piece put on the inside. Uh-oh. Okay. Come on, glue. Hang on. We've got to get our glue to flow. Just doesn't want to go. Oh, there we go. Now we've got too much. That's how it always works. Okay. So we'll kind of spread that around there. We're going to put this on the inside. Maybe if I can get the card base open. Oh my goodness. I'm all thumbs today. All right. So we'll get that down there. Get that centered up. Give that a good press. Okay, we've got this is going to be one of our pattern pieces. Now the patterns that you can put on the front of this, and I'll show you when we make this tomorrow. You could do all the same pattern, or you could do 2 coordinating patterns. So this could be one, and your little strips could be something completely different, or they could all be the same. Whatever your paper works best for. Sometimes, you can't find 2 coordinating pieces. You like the paper, but there's not really 2 that go that well together. I mean, they go together, but you know what I mean. Like, they'll either be really big patterns or just patterns that don't necessarily go together, even if the colors do. But we will do one each way so that we can see how that works tomorrow. So I'm going to get that one on. And we'll get these just put in the middle, centered up on each one of our little cardstock pieces here. And then we will, get these 3 put down the front of our card. Now, at this point, you could do one of 2 things as well. You can lay them flat and just glue them on, which is what I'm going to do for the template. But if you wanted to pop each of these up on dimensionals, you could do that as well. So whichever way, you like the best. But just for this occasion, I'm just going to lay them flat. So I'm just going to kind of lay that down there and not really press too hard yet, because I want to make sure I get my spacing all worked out before I adhere it down permanently. So the trick is to have equal space between the 3 pieces as well as top and bottom. So let's see, I'm thinking that looks pretty good top and bottom. I'm going to just move this one down just a hair, if I can yet. There we go. And then we need to make sure that we're also lined up left to right. So that looks good on that one. This one needs to come down just a little and over. Boy, sometimes this glue can stick just as quickly as that. Okay, let's move this one back now. Okay, so I think that one's good. We're going to push it down. And that one looks pretty good. And we're going to go with that one as well. Okay, so there's our 3 pieces. So there's that. And then we've got our piece that we would stamp on when we go to make our cards, and just stick that down here on the, somewhere on the front. And so there is our first template. Pretty simple. You could also use a bigger circle, and I toyed with that, using a bigger circle, but I guess it just depends on how much of your pattern paper you want to cover up. So completely up to you what you want to do with that one. And then next we've got our fun folds. So let's get our directions out for this one. So for this we need a card base that's 8.5 by 5.5. We're going to score it at 4 1/4 and then again at 2 1/8. So basically you're going to score the front in half here and then in half again. So we'll give these both a good burnish to make sure that they are going to lay flat. Okay, we've got a piece of white for the inside that is 4 by 5 1/4, and that's going to go in here. So we'll go ahead and get that down. Okay, I need some glue down here in the corner. There we go. It doesn't seem to want to behave. So we'll just put that in here. Line that up centered. And give it a good press. Okay, now for our outside piece then, we've got another piece of cardstock that we're going to put here. And before we glue it down though, we're going to take our so this is another piece that's 4 by 5 1/4. And then our pattern pieces, we need 3. So the first one is 1.5 by 5, and then 1 1/4 by 5, and 3/4 by 5. So you could also do these in any order. You could go largest to smallest or smallest to largest. So I'm going to do smallest to largest. Not really sure why. That's just kind of what I did. So again, we're going to put these down as lightly as we can so we can get our spacing between our 3 pieces worked out before they take hold. And I can't get them back up. Now there's a little less room here to work with than we had on our other one, so there really isn't going to be a lot of space between the 3. So we're going to scoot this one over a little because I want to have the same or as close to the same amount of white space on this side that I have over here. So we'll just get that down, and then we're going to take this one, move it over just a hair to the left, and boy did it stick already. Okay, so we'll get this down here, And that looks pretty good. All right, so we'll give that a good push. Now, when we go to put it on the front of our card, we want to make sure that we only glue to about here, because we don't want to glue our card shut. So we need to keep our glue on the left-hand side of this piece. And then we'll just go ahead and center this up on here, on our little folded piece. Now we want to make sure that we've got it so it's going to cover our inside piece of cardstock, because you don't want that peeking out. So just bear that in mind when you're gluing that down, to make sure that you're going to cover this one completely. Okay, and then we've got a piece for the sentiment. Now I chose a bigger circle on this one from the Spotlight on Nature. Again, you don't have to use a circle. You could use any die, that you wanted to put on here. And I'm just going to center that up. Oops. Well, I tried to center it up. My goodness. There we go. So center that one up. And that's pretty easy there. So, neither one of those took a lot of time. Those were pretty easy cards. So, let's see. Here are my two examples, and then the two that we made today. So you've got our fun fold card, and I think this was the basic card. So again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow. We're going to make some thank you cards out of our basic card design. See you then. Have a crafty evening. Bye.